ever met. This is the barbershop icon for our keynote address, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Earl Moon.
I'll anoint you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Get that one out of the way. Am I still on? Yeah. Good. I didn't check lately, but you can give me some assistance. Can't expect too much from him, but nevertheless. Can everybody read this? Yeah, you have to earn that. You got to earn that. Now, for those of you who can't see it, what it says is, you know you're getting older when happy hour is a nap. Don't you watch. Now, I've earned the right. I've been married 45 years, and I still have to put this shirt on for my wife every night I go to barber shopping, you know. Of course, she keeps asking me, I don't understand what that means, but that's beside the point. All right, now we got to get serious here. Yeah. I will, in all honesty now, I'm serious. I will make this bold statement. I don't think there's a man alive, in or out of the barbershop society, that better understands Joe Barbershopper than I do. I've learned a lot from you guys. I've learned all I know from you guys and being around you. So I know who you are. I know how you think. I know how you sing. Sometimes good. I know how you are with woodshedding, those of you who understand that word. So let me ask you a question. How many of you know what I'm going to be talking about? Come on, raise your hands. How many know? Hold them up so I can see them. Okay. Now, would you guys that know tell everybody else here that doesn't know, and we'll just get on with the rest of the program here. On the serious side, gentlemen, I cannot explain the emotion that I felt standing there in the wings, because, you see, it's going to be tough for me to get through part of this. It really is. This is Mecca. Right here. This is Mecca. There ain't any bigger or better place in the barbershop world than right here, which is why I've been coming to every Harmony College, starting out in Winona in 1950, was that? Help me out. Winona, Minnesota. 1950. Yeah, it was, what do you guys know? I can tell you this. I have only missed one. And I can't even remember why I missed that one. Don't tell me I don't know how to hand you guys a straight line. I mean, I really do. I know I clown around a lot, and hopefully every once in a while I'll tickle your funny bone with something. But barbershopping has been very serious to me as well. I have the highest regard for the barbershop art form, and it is an art form. And I remember my adopted father, that's Lou Perry to you people. He said, you know, Earl, he said, I know it, I love it, and I appreciate it. And he said, but in my mind, he said, I think I can imagine what it's going to be like in another 100 years. Well, I'm hoping that I know what I think it's going to be like in another 100 years. So if I may, I'd like to take you down memory lane with me, if you will, please. It was back in the early 40s. A very young man, accompanied by 3 other guys from his high school, walked up to the steps of the 2nd floor of a building in Kansas City, Missouri. We were taken down there by this man that I worked for after school to sing for this group of men. I got half the way up the stairs, and man, I heard a sound. You got to put a capital S on that word. It's the only thing that does justice to it. A sound. I was stunned. I'd never heard anything like that before in my life. And if any of you guys out there are fishermen, the hook was set. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea who was doing it or why. Walked on up, opened the doors, and there's 30-some people in there. They were all men. And they were doing this singing, making this sound. And I stood there and looked around in awe because they weren't using any music. I thought you always had to use music. That's the way we learned all our stuff. Learned to read it right there. No. So we sat down, respectfully, being young men as we were, in the back, waiting for our time to be called up and sing. And all of a sudden, they were gang singing is what they were really doing. Some guy was up there doing this. That's about all he did. Or he did it slower sometimes. But I don't think he had a left hand. It was always this one up here just doing it. Then all of a sudden, 4 guys got up and started to sing a song. I said, oh boy, a quartet. I'm in one of those. And these 4 guys are just singing along, and some guy walked up behind him, you know, and he reached up and he tapped this guy on the shoulder, kind of pushed him forward, and he stepped in. Quartet kept right on singing, and that guy went over and sat down. I thought, what's the matter with him? He's, you know, sick, something. Next thing I know, another guy got up, he taps the guy on the shoulder, and he stepped out, and he stepped in. He went over and sat down. This is strange. I mean, this is weird. It really is. And then this process just kept repeating. But the song kept going on, and when that one ended, another one started and kept on going on. And still, no paper. No paper. Well, by this time, I was convinced there was something magical going on in this room, and they were doing something that no other human beings could do, of course. But the sound, it was still the same. That magical, captivating, unique, masculine, excuse me, virile sound. And your next question, I'm sure, is going to be, Earl, tell us, what did it sound like?
What did it sound like?
Thank you very much. Would you please avoid any lengthy pauses in between this little bipart we got going on? If you've been in barbershopping at all, you now know you can't describe it to anybody else, can you? There's only one way to do it. You have to experience it. Right? I have a modest example of what they were saying there. And paper. So I get it by ear. And isn't barbershopping ear music? Say yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Lead singers, wherefore art thou? Oft in the evening when we're apart. Sing that. Oft in the evening when we're apart. I rest my case. They learn it faster by ear than they do when they try to read it. Thank you. Oft tenors, oft in the evening when we're apart. Oft and the lead's two parts. Here's the tenor, here's the lead. Bum, two parts. Oft in the evening when we're apart. Sam, I don't need any help now. Tenors, did you? Oft in the evening when we're, did you come down on we're? And then back up, apart. Well, you'll fix that, right? Tenor, lead, one more time, oft. Oft in the evening when we're apart. It's going to get better. I'll guarantee you, you've never sung this and you've never heard it unless you go back as far as I do. Off tenor, lead, and bass. Here's a line you'll never see from this day on. Oft in the evening when we're up a half apart. That's it, basses. Never sung one like that, have you? But it's critical. Off tenor, lead, and bass. Three parts. Oft in the evening. I'll tell you flat out right now, any of our arrangers today that don't go back that far or have that experience or knowledge, they would never arrange that bass line in this particular song. I'll tell you that flat out. It ain't ever going to happen. I'll also tell you something else. They can try all they want to, but there's one melody note in there that they ain't ever going to solve unless they do it that way. Ask them what they're going to do with a minor second. Go ahead, ask them what they're going to do with it. Off tenor lead, here comes the part that we used to call the fill-in. It's now baritone bum. Baritone, you're going to love this. It's got a hooker in it. Oft in the evening when we're half under your first note. Apart and then back again. Got it? Four parts, tenor lead, baritone and bass. Baritones, you got the bouncing ball. That's what the sound was like back then. I remember it was I think it was last year, fooling around after, school and after the ice cream and, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I run into Joe Lyles, and he's standing over here someplace, and I got three other guys, and I was saying, here, sing this little tidbit. This is the way we used to do it in the old days. We sang that, and Joe comes over. And he's standing right there and looking at me. I said, yeah, Joe. He says, what was that? I said, well, just a little tidbit we sang, way back when. Could I sing that? I said, I don't know, can you? So I said, what part do you want to sing? And he says, I don't care. So I decided he really wanted to sing that line. So let him sing the line. He looked at me and he says, have you put that down anywhere? I said, only up here. He said, you got to put that down. He said, you know any more like that? And I said, oh, one or two. Or... He said, you got to put those down. I said, no, sir. Then everybody would be just as smart as I am. They wouldn't have to come to me for nothing. What was barbershop like in the 40s? Yeah, it was that. But let me tell you something that's going to shock you. Hopefully, some things that come later when you see the comparisons will make you think. And that's really what I want to do. I just want you to think, okay? And you decide, what's your cup of tea? We sang for ourselves. That's it. Pure and simple. We were very self-indulgent. We didn't care if anybody else heard us or not. We didn't care if there was any more than 4 people there. 4 was enough. We wanted to bask in that sound. That example you just sang, if you would like to analyze it, and you don't have to bother, I've done that. It's almost 80% barbershop sevenths. 80%. There are 2 other chords, one of which is a 13th and one of which is a 9th, both of which I call kissing cousins to a barbershop seventh. But forgetting those, even though they're close, almost 80% barbershop sevenths. And you wonder why we loved what we did? It was wonderful because we found those chords. Nobody put them down for us to find them. Poor baritone. I didn't sing baritone then. I was smart. I sang lead, let me tell you. We did it all by ear. There was no paper. All by ear. And the term we used was woodshedding because that's kind of what you did. It was experimentation, and half of it was terrible because they were clinkers. We made mistakes, but we fixed them. Poco a poco, little by little. And as we fixed them and we finally got the line worked out and then the next line, pretty soon we had worked out our arrangement of that song. And then the other guys would listen to us render our version, and they would learn our version from us, and we would learn their version they'd worked out of their songs from them. Everything was passed on, ear to ear to ear to ear. And before long, this thing became trained. If you got a real tag that you think is great, and you don't want it to get around, don't let me hear it even once. Because 90% of them now I get within one time. Now sometimes it takes twice. Boy, you talk about being chord-oriented in those days. What did Joe say? He said, to ring some chords. Well, the word ring went away about a decade ago. Kind of got dropped from the vocabulary and replaced with expanded sound. You know, I observed when the sound was expanded, they still rang. We also emphasize consonant chords, not the dissonant ones. I'll tell you, the guys would swear up and down that they would never sing a major seventh if their life depended on it. And I didn't have the nerve to point out the beginning of Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. There are 2 major sevenths there, but they went by so fast they didn't know it, see, so that's okay. But they wouldn't sing those kind of chords. They looked around for others. That's where we came up with the term chord substitution. And that's a legitimate part of the barbershop art form. Let me underline the word legitimate part of the barbershop art form. We have a charter. That's a part of our charter. We have another part of our charter that makes it perfectly legit. It's called tempo rubatum. We do not have to stay in sync with the metronome, okay? And you know that. When it comes to ballads, man, we beg and we borrow. We rob Peter, we pay Paul. We understand meter, but we can play with the tempo. It's a part of our charter. And another part of the charter used to be that we made occasional changes to melodies. We really did. Just little ones. Just little small ones. But remember, that was a change to the melody as it was being remembered by somebody in the first place. That might have not even been close. What did you do with a song like this? You'll find your feathers of blue are waiting for you back in your own backyard. You want to woodshed that with me? But the lead singer, who didn't know any better, never learned it that way. Good thing. What he learned was, you'll find your feathers of blue are waiting for you. This one he put in, back in your own backyard, do-do-do-do-do-do. And they woodshedded that. Wasn't even close. Wasn't even close, melody-wise. Who cared? Nobody. Oh, it's going to get better as we go along, let me tell you. By the time I get through, these guys are going to disclaim me. They're going to say, wait a minute, wait a minute. Nah, they... Oh. I love that. Somebody says, I already have. Now, you got to wait until later, and then we'll explain why some of the changes came about. And some of them were for the better. Not all, but some of them were for the better. Different quartets, they sounded different. You couldn't find two quartets that sounded alike if your life depended on it. And the reason is because the rule in those days when you sing with somebody, hey kid, just match. What do you mean, match? Sing like your lead does. Oh, okay. Now, if you got a honker, Mammy, won't you please? And you sing baritone. Mammy, won't you please? So you can imagine every quartet, depending upon the lead singer, had a totally different sound. But they matched. So the chords rang. They really did. Now today, we have an objective of what is a good vocal quality sound. I have no objection to that whatsoever. I still go about it the same way. If I'm working with a chorus, I tell the director, you interested in vocal quality? He says, oh yes. I said, good. You take your lead singers and you go teach them to sing with vocal quality. Now I'm going to take the harmony parts. I'm going to teach them how to match. Whatever happens, they're going to know how to match from that side over to that side. And then I said, we bring them all back together, and I'm going to tell my guys, match what you hear from that lead section, guys. And when they sing with vocal quality, guess what these other guys do? They match vocal quality. Oh. Well, how are you going to learn how to sing with vocal quality unless you can go either side of it? Talk to some of the coaches back here. They'll tell you. I want you to go this way, or I want you to go that way. Well, then obviously, here it is. It's somewhere in there. Well, I just teach them how to go all the way over there and all the way over there, and then you just pull them back to wherever you want them. It's all right with me. There was a gentleman in the chapter in Kansas City by the name of Joe Stern. Now, that may be back quite a ways for some of you, although I bet you there's some people up here on the stage that remember Joe. He wrote a song. He was in the publishing business, by the way. You'd be surprised who was in the society in the early days. Bing Crosby was in the Santa Monica chapter. Little Jimmy Gleason, not the big one, the little skinny one that did a lot of movies back then in the 40s and whatever. He was a member down the Santa Monica chapter. Matter of fact, my memory serves me, and I have an excellent memory, it's just a little short. I think Bing was some kind of an honorary, whatever those officers were in those days. So yeah, we had people that, you know, were somebody. And Joe Stern was in the publishing business. He wrote a song called, Daddy, Get Your Baby Out of Jail. Come and get someone to go my bail. They've been treating me so mean, took away my cigarettes and my morphine. Well, now you know why you don't hear it nowadays. But man, it had chords, let me tell you, it had chords. There I was, 17 years old, singing my heart out on those words. Daddy, put my diamonds into soak. Buy me just another shot of Coke. I thought it was Coca-Cola. What would I know? Back in the first few contests, they used to get what we would call the preeminent barber shoppers, you know, those that everybody knew, like a Molly Regan or Bill Diekema, the gentleman that wrote Keep America Singing. Those kinds of preeminent barber shoppers. And they were our judges. You could sign up for the contest the day before. That's what the convention, and that's what it was. It wasn't a contest, it's a convention. Oh, by the way, at this convention, which is a gathering of the clan because people kind of moved away, you know, and this was a reunite the family type affair. It really was. It was a singing convention, singing going on all the time in all the halls, out in the lobby. I don't care where you went, man, there was just sing, 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 singing. And then somebody'd say, oh, wait a minute. I think my quartet's on next in the contest. Be right back. That's true. That's the way it was. It's a matter of priorities, okay? Well, in about the second or third contest, the preeminent judges had a difference of opinion as to who won. Molly Regan was one of them, and he said it was contestant number 3. And one of the other judges said, no, it's really contestant number 2, Molly. And the third guy said, well, I don't care, it was one of the two of them. And so these two gentlemen started to debate who was first and who was second. Now, Molly Regan was an engineer, and he always carried a little slipstick, a little slide rule in his pocket, you know, the handy-dandy size. He said, no, 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 you don't understand. Let me show you. He pulls this out, and he says, now, quartet number 2 sang this long, and they had an accuracy percentage of this. Therefore, their number is, see it right there? Right there. Now, this other quartet sang for a different amount of time, and their accuracy percentage was, and therefore the figure comes, see this? So my quartet won. And the other guy's going, okay. Now, you're wondering what the significance of that is, and I will tell you. That brought about the requirement in the judging program for keeping track of time, a minimum of 4 minutes. That's where it came from. That's when they decided time. Nobody gives out lines like that for a response other than me, let me tell you. A couple of points that I need to make. This is my own personal observation, and I'll qualify the following remarks with that preface. This is personally the way I see and feel. I've heard some barbershoppers today tell me, when we get into some discussions, you know, well, we're in the entertainment business today. That's interesting. I don't know how we got there, but okay, let's assume for the sake of discussion that we're in the entertainment business, you know. I guess that means we're competing with all those other musical forms for the entertainment dollar. I don't know why we're doing this, but for the sake of discussion, I'll say, okay, we're not in the entertainment business. Now please answer me a question. What is your rationale for putting something other than barbershop on your show? And the answer comes back, oh, it's real quick. Hey, man, if you're competing for the entertainment dollar, you have to give them a variety of stuff. They're not going to sit still for a whole evening of barbershop. Well, there's where we part company, guys. And I really believe that the individual that says that does not understand how broad the barbershop umbrella is. The handle is the contest stage. Keep it pure, the purest you can. Now, out here is still barbershop. It may not get as many points in a contest, but it's still good, solid barbershop out to the edge. You just don't want it to get wet. For example, in a contest, they want to adjudicate quartets. I suggest you do not have your lead singer sing a solo with do-wah-do on the background. But on a show, that's wonderful, assuming the arrangement's a barbershop arrangement, and you got a good lead singer in your quartet, feature that sucker. That's a different kind of entertainment. You got novelty numbers you want to sing? Sing them. You want to sing a country western song? Sing it. As long as it's within the style. Some of them fit great. Anytime you're feeling lonely, got lots of harmonic variety. Fits under the barbershop umbrella real well. So learn what that umbrella is. And here's why I'm so shocked when I hear this. Do you realize we have a monopoly? We have the only franchise. We have a corner on the market for a barbershop because nobody else can do it better than you can. Nobody. Well, then why do you need anything else? If I go to sell a ticket to somebody and they say, oh, is this a barbershop show? Hopefully they're going to come to that show and say, I'm expecting to hear barbershop. Well, don't disappoint them. They can't get it anyplace else, only from the experts here. So don't sell your audience short. Don't be hypocritical and advertise as a barbershop show and say, well, we've got to have a variety, you know, we'll never get them in there. Shoot, we pack houses. We had to go from 1 night to 2 nights to 3 nights to 4 nights on our show. And I'll guarantee it's barbershop. That's the only thing we'll let on our stage because we're very proud of it and we do it very well. And so do you. So don't get mixed up on this entertainment stuff. Keep it in perspective. What responsibilities do you have? Eric Jackson put it better than anybody I've ever heard, and I'm not about to try to improve upon it. You have a responsibility to preserve barbershop for the next generation. That's your job. Take it personally. Feel it personally. It's your hobby. You guys own it. Cherish it. Enjoy it. And I have one more little footnote for all of you as individuals. Don't ever forget this is a team sport. One man can't do it. It takes at least 4. In a chorus, a lot more. Every once in a while, would you please take time out and go over to the guy you're singing with, shake his hand and give him a hug, and tell him how glad you are he's there. Because if they weren't there, you couldn't do what you want to do. That's why I say it's a team sport. So appreciate the members on your team, okay? Find some personal time. I don't care how much, but find some where you can get together with 3 guys in a corner and just sing a song. Or getting together with 3 guys in a corner and woodshed. By the way, that's not a spectator sport. If you don't understand that, come to my woodshed class and I'll explain it. It's only for the 4 guys doing it and anybody else interested in woodshedding. Or get with 3 guys in another corner and sing a tag. Or do all 3. Or get 3 guys to come over to your house some evening just on a one-time basis, and just sing with 3 other guys. You know, the irony of it is, make you a better chorus member. You'll find out a lot more about your voice real quick when you're singing in a quartet. Is that me breathing all that many times? Yeah, that's you breathing all that many times. We're almost there. I have a friend in Northern California, old barbershopper. He wrote a song. Now, he's not a songwriter. He's a pretty good lyricist, I'll tell you that. And in this one instance, something inspired him, something touched him, and he wrote a good song. He didn't know what to call it. It was a labor of love, and he called it a barbershop song. Listen to the man's lyric. When the afterglow's over and everyone's gone and harmony is still in the air, we can smile and reflect on the wonderful songs and the wonderful pastime we share. It only takes one to bask in the sun, and it's great if you play solitaire. There's a chess game for 2 and a tennis match. True. There's a lot you can do as a pair. A trio can play modern music all day, but the memories don't stay very long. Only when you have 4. Not one less, not one more, can you sing a barbershop song. Gentlemen, have a wonderful week. God love you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd get through that last line. Good. Thank you very much. We got time for one short tag.
I was just going to ask you to lead us out of here with the song.
I have one more modest example. Where is he? Where's Phil? The other Phil. That Phil. You know this, but I've changed your words, but you be nice and go along with me. Leads. You know it too. Change the words just a little bit. Well, you got to be apropos to the situation. It's my sound. Sing that, Leads. It's my sound. And just hang on forever. Tenors, after they sing that, you're going to come in. La bum bum. It's my sound. My. Well, that hurts. Sound. Got it? La ba 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 ba. Well, now you know why I don't sing tenor. La bum baritone, it's my sound, my sound. Real tough, right? Bass, 2 whole steps. It's my sound, and go the octave. Come and sing my sound. It's Leads. Here we go. It's my